Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Olivia, you were on the breathwork too. So welcome to our live Q&A. It was Hannah and I. So I don't know if some of you have listened to the previous one. Maybe some of you were on the previous one, but just so you know, if you're listening to that recording, there's another Q&A that we did a month ago, I think, around that. Hannah and I, and we kind of presented in kind of detail way the whole curriculum. So we won't go as much in depth here on that. But if you have questions, obviously we'll answer them. But if you have the brochure, you can see the whole curriculum, and we kind of went through that and explaining a little bit the content. But we wanted to kind of talk about a few other things today. One of them is this container for this breathwork, and I'm sure you're all aware there's a lot of breathwork training out there. There's a different type of schools, different type of breath, and also I guess different way to hold that space and to go through that journey of transformation, because the training is really first and foremost a personal journey of transformation to be able to hold that space. And Hannah and I think, brought components that are quite unique and we're excited about. And that's what we wanted to start and talk to you about a little bit before we go into questions and other points. Hannah, ladies first, as we say here. I'll let you start, and also I'm gathering my gear back from my breath work. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And yes, hello, everyone. My name is Hannah. I go by she, her pronouns. It is such a joy to be sharing this course from where I am right now. I'm at the Breathe Festival in Glastonbury in the UK. And this is a weekend just devoted to the breath. And so to speak about this course and to invite you into this space and to welcome you as breathers to understand the role of the healer in this modern time, in this context that we're in this really remarkable moment in history. It's a really exciting time. So I'll kind of share a little bit around my lens and my history and what's kind of a little bit of my background, so that you can get a foundation of who I am and what it is that I'm bringing into this course. So I've been on a breathwork journey for the last 8 years or so. I am calling in the countries and the land of my heritage. So I am calling in the land of the volcanoes of Indonesia and the land of the meadows of England. When I'm doing this breath work and ancestral breath work, I always kind of imagine a volcano in the middle of meadows, or sometimes it's a coconut palm in an ocean of roses. And so it's these two contrasts that I'm bringing in. My heritage is of healers, of seers, voyagers, fishermen, farmers. And this is wisdom and knowledge that I bring into this course. And it's something that is really important for us to know and to cultivate. And these are the ancestors that support me during this journey. And so I really invite inquiry into our context. I am a graduate of Alchemy of Breath. I did 2 both of their trainings with them, and my departure from them and into this container and creating this partnership with Angel and the sanctuary was really in response to what is needed right now in the context we are in now. I am an embodied social justice practitioner. I am a somatic facilitator and a breathwork facilitator. And the way I see breathwork and the role of medicine folk and healers in this time is really to address those core wounds that are being uprooted in this moment, that are being reminded, that are being remembered in every moment, in what seems like every interaction that we have with every person, and every form of media. And so it's root work, what I do and what I invite, and it's deep. And this is something that I'm very excited about, because it seems now more than ever we need to notice our wounds. We need to really look at them with clarity to be able to address them. It is not just about learning the tools or learning what it is, but it's actually who we are supposed to be here right now, what our calling is, and walking a little bit towards the raw of it, because it's quite scary work, actually. So I honor your courage in that, to walk towards the heat and to your calling. And so I just wanted to share a little bit that I'm here to remind you of your wildness, primarily, to remind you that you are not here to fit in. You're not here to follow what people tell you. You're here to remember, right? You're here to remember the intergenerational pain, the intergenerational wisdom. You're here to remember and recognize that you're here for a reason and you matter. You have an extensive gravity to you to make shifts in this world, and I'm here just as a reminder of that. Angel, do you want to share like what's your calling into this?
Yeah.
Space?
I'm Angel, and yeah, I come from a small island in Mediterranean, Corsica, and I grew up in France, where I am right now. But I've been in the US for 15 years, and working with the ancestral wisdom of the Lenape people that used to be on those lands. So I always like, in sacred space, to acknowledge that, I live on stolen land, on occupied territory, what was called Turtle Island. And, this is part of the problematic that we have to see, and we have to feel, and we have to remember, to weave with what Hannah was saying, because it's problematic that we're going to face as teachers, healers, even individuals, wherever we go. And it's easy to be, I guess, sometimes distracted and to forget about that, because I think that word, that breath work, opens so many gates. It's like this bridge into the unconscious part of our bodies, which is the earth in shamanic term, the deeply wild feminine space. We know that as we do that, we are going to call in this consciously or unconsciously. It is going to be there in the space, it's going to be there with each other. It is going to be there in that breath. So my training is, aside from shamanic work and working with medicine people around the world, has been on trauma space. I went to a very extensive training on sexual trauma training and body work around sexual trauma. And I also used to be a meditation teacher and also a Reiki practitioner. But I want to say a little bit the same thing as what Anna was saying, but for me, the departure from my training in breathwork was because Phil was missing an element that was more, I guess, holistic, that was encompassing more aspect. And I also was lacking a deep understanding of trauma in the body. It happens that when I was graduating, I was just in the beginning of my journeys of healing my sexual trauma that I discovered quite late in my life. So I was quite, I guess, tender and also aware of safety or non-safety in this case. And I really wanted to have a discussion about it, and that was difficult. And it really, it triggered me. It brought a lot of rage, a lot of anger. And so as, I keep breathing, and we breathe a lot of people in these past years through the pandemic, I've started to look, okay, I think there's a shift in consciousness that is happening, and also a need that is very evident to include those aspects of the work, like Hannah was mentioning. And in shamanic traditions, the healer or the teacher or the shaman or medicine man traditionally was very often someone that would have no self-care or not a lot of self-care, that would give everything to the community and to his clients and kind of forget a little bit about his own needs. And what became evident to me that if we want to go the long way here, and if we want to be able to really solve problems, we need to embody also self-care. And we need to also embody, that deep awareness that we are also receivers, not just givers. We're not teachers, we're also students. And it's breaking, down also this patriarchal view of the healer space or the shamanic space. Where I think coming back to the origin, which is coming back into a circle when nobody's standing on a throne or with a position of power. And so what I want to bring in is that aspect to make sure that, we know all those tools and we remember them, because shamanic work is all about remembering. Even if someone is holding the space, it's really discovering the medicines that we carry, being able to tap into our own ancestry for wisdom, for songs, for body care, for emotional safety. And as we bring that, to be able to share that with a greater collective and also mix those different medicines. That's why I love the sharing at the end of breathwork, because everybody brings elements that are so relevant for the collective. So I want that part of self-empowerment to be one of the central point of the training. For me, it's really important, even if there is going to be a lot of wisdom sharing and a lot of, knowledge share on the nervous system and many other aspects that we cannot go without it. But then once we know that, it's discovering, okay, what is my process with that? How is it working for me? Is it relevant or not? Some of the tools might be irrelevant for you, and then they won't be embodied, and then therefore they are useless. But what are the tools that you have that can be really embodied, that speak from your heart and your own personal experience, maybe of trauma, of healing, of rediscovering self? So I think that's the context of the shamanic healer of the 21st century, because we have these collapsing systems, ecological and social and political. And the only way we can go on the long way, for me, I have an ally in that world. It's the oak tree, which is a very slow growth tree that I've done a lot of deep work with. And that always come to me as this very resilient elder that is capable of giving still a lot of life, a lot of fruits, a lot of acorns, even when it's hundreds of years old, but without depleting itself. And so being that pillar that is here for wisdom for the collective, but that is not giving that notion of sacrifice, that somehow my life doesn't matter because the problems are bigger than me. So I want to bring that. So the shamanic teaching will be there, but in that, with that twist on them, because that has been my personal journey, and I can only speak from that place at the end of the day, because that's the only thing that I know being truth for me.
Thank you for sharing. I think one of the things that we can evolve this conversation into is actually the lessons of the oak tree and the structure of the course. So it's a 12-month course. It's a whole year. It's a year long. The course, its structure, its methodology, the pricing model as well, is in direct resilience and resistance from all of these really fast-paced teacher trainings that are coming out. And these certifications that allow us to practice so that we can earn money, and somehow there's something really deeply profound lost in that process, where we're just consuming, and we don't actually allow our learnings to affect us on a cellular level. And so this course is structured in a way that will accompany the pace of change, and change is slow. So the structure is solid, it is methodical, sorry. It is deep, and it will take time. And so for us to be able to really integrate those deep learnings into the ways that we navigate our thoughts, the ways that we navigate our judgments, the ways that we have internalized biases, and maybe even our internalized racism, our internalized patriarchy, our internalized colonization. And it's really a process of unlearning that, of unpacking that. And you've had your whole life being conditioned this way, right? So it's going to take time. And this course is a foundation for long-term shifts, for long-term sustainability, for actually true, real opportunities for you to build a life on this, that you can actually sustain yourself as a breathwork facilitator or as a healer, or in whatever way that you would like to offer your work, your gifts. What tends to happen in the wellness spaces is that you kind of get certification upon certifications upon certification, and we're kind of dispersed in a way without any real sustainability or plan for how that is going to be deeply abundant for us on an individual level. And so it's really about creating a counterculture for medicine folk in the wellness industry. And sometimes I don't like using the word counterculture because it's a little bit oppositional. So maybe it's about creating a new culture for wellness folks. And it's about a trauma-informed approach to collective abundance, right? So that's kind of informed a little bit around why it's so long, why it might feel slow at times, but remember, we're in phasal ecology. Some things might happen really fast. Some things might happen really, really, really slowly. And to acknowledge those rhythms within us, and to be able to notice all that is unfolding in that process. It is not something that you're just going to come in and out and we won't see you ever again, right? We're actually trying to create these networks of mycelium around the world, that we can actually resist all the ways that we have been taught to be violent. We can resist all the ways that we have been taught to belittle ourselves, to assume that we're all the same, you know, to honor difference, to honor heritage, to honor your own journey in this and your own medicine in this very, very unique time. And it's new. This is the exciting thing about it. What you bring to this work, it's going to be new. Of course, we can rely and rest on the shoulders of those who have gone before us, but these are new times. And so in this work, in each breath, you'll be hearing whispers of gratitude from your future ancestors. And I'm so excited about that. It is something in this point of catastrophe and chaos, there is these cracks of opportunity and of joy and of closeness, which is something quite radical in our time of separation, our time of isolation, and our social distancing. And so I'm just sorry, I'm going off a little bit, but it's really informed in that, and it's the course is really deeply steeped in the wisdoms of the earth around us.
Yeah, and also, you know, one of the reasons for that slowness, aside from that is the speed of nature, because to be informed of all what's going on in the collective, it takes time to listen. But to do that on an individual level, the slowness is also required to basically be able to create safety, like to truly go into a trauma space that it feels very safe. Because if we go too quick, we can get triggered, which is what happened to me, or we can bypass, because we can layer it with so much knowledge, then we can just avoid feeling maybe something that is trying to move there. And, you know, in the trauma work, what is very evident as we start going really deep, and, you know, in the sexual trauma space, which I'm doing a lot of work in, I can only go as deep in that space as I've gone with myself. And so if there is unprocessed part of me that are, I don't know, shame, anger, fear, strong inner critic, self-hate, lack of self-love, if some of those elements are there and I'm not comfortable holding them for myself, I won't be able to allow that in another person, because our bodies, you know, are in constant communication. And that is true in remote work. Even if you're having a group there, it's even more true on the one-on-one work in person, because our bodies communicate and they know when an armor needs to come down or can come down, because it is safe out there. And we cannot trick it with our words or, you know, tools. It is a somatic experience that both body have. And it's like, can this come? And also, you know, it is to provide the safety that is necessary, because that work can bring people into very deep state, getting in touch with things that maybe they don't even remember. And we need to be able to be that oak tree in that moment, to be really rooted, to be really loving and caring, to not panic or to not even intervene, you know, stealing people from their own power to unravel their own trauma, which is very often the case in healing work, is that we come from a position of inferiority to a teacher or a healer. We want them to fix it for us, because that's what we learn in our collective, that somehow there's a magic pill out there. And then even if the trauma comes out and we feel we've done work with it, in fact, someone was doing it for us, or was really navigating it for us with their own framework, with their own map. And we basically do not learn self-resilience that way. You know, we do not learn the tools that are necessary for deepest healing. So a lot of the modules here will weave that into it. You know, there's tools from the Wheel of Consent, from Betty Martin schools, and you know, there will be teachers from different schools and different ways to make sure you have all those elements, so you feel really comfortable first exploring the depths of you, really see the roots of what's there, and therefore being able to hold that space in a way that is not patriarchal or colonized or invading, even very often coming from a good intention, but just because it's the way we do things and we don't often realize. And so not stealing power, which is so common because that's the way, you know, a lot of the Western doctor industries and sometimes a lot of the even, you know, more spiritual wellness industry works, you know, and that touch upon that consuming of healing or that consumptions of certification, you know, I feel if I get that, then I'm good with it. But we've avoided basically going to that depth. So yeah, so there will be, you know, obviously Hannah and I teaching, but we have already a nice lineup of teachers and wisdom keepers that are going to come for modules supporting the work we're going to do, because, well, I'm not an expert in everything, and I know Hannah is not either, and we want to make sure you also get to be learning from people that really embody each part of the work, you know, not pretending that we are the turnkey solution for everything. And also for me, it is honoring and putting myself in the circle with you, that I do not know everything, that I'm still learning. And even if I can hold a good space, I think I still have so much to learn. And there's still so much that I don't know. So it's really going to those places, you know, with humility and humbleness. So by the end, you feel like, wow, I have a solid, not only solid tools and solid inner inquiry tools, but I also have this network, that mycelium, as Hannah was saying, of support teachers and people that I can rely upon when something come up, and be as vulnerable with your clients or with the people you work for or with. So you can also say, hey, listen, I have someone here that can really help on that. And so really being able to embody that, which also I feel usually for me, you know, it makes me feel really much more empowered when I know when my power is not there, and to say, this is a person for it, you know, and they know better than me. And I feel I'm really serving the person and not serving myself in pretending, you know, that I may be mastering all the tools here.
There's something here that I also want to speak into. And you mentioned a word there, Angel, that I kind of want to bring back, and it's actually preparedness, to prepare you. One of the things that I've found in my own training that that I felt, even after the completion of that training, I was like, I'm not ready for this, right? I'm not ready for any of this. It kind of, things came up in my sessions that I had no idea about. I could not even, it was really, it felt like such a betrayal from my teachers. Like that was kind of the feeling that I felt, because I was like, how can you send me out into the world? Because I'm not ready, right? And, oh, I don't know about this. And so I really see this course as a deep preparation for a reality that we are in, for the context we are in, right? Oftentimes in wellness, we kind of prepare ourselves for this wellness bubble, for us to be in these calm, beautiful, quiet spaces. And then you go outside the door and you've got traffic and advertising and media and family. And I was like, wait, I was Zen just a second ago, you know, I was at peace just a second ago. Why are you doing this to me? And so this is a really interesting tension to be in, because when we are sitting here in full acknowledgement of the context we are in, the social structures, the collective histories that we have, in real honesty, without denial, without collective amnesia of what happened, what really standing in what we know, and being able to feel that, that is full preparation for what is going to come up when you have these sessions with folks, right? You're going to have interactions where there's going to be personal trauma, there's going to be familial trauma, there's going to be collective trauma, and we need to know how to deal with that in a safe way, but in a way that doesn't perpetuate the cycles of domination that we have been taught in our schools of training, right? So it's really resisting the colonization of education as well. It's really resisting the ways in which we categorize our mind and body, these kind of the ways that, you know, psychotherapists and psychoanalysts that we have learnt a lot from, but actually need to depart away from too. So this is what it means to have a social justice lens, or an embodied social justice lens, as well as a shamanic approach. And this is why it's so vital, because it's alive anyway. It's coming to you anyway. It's happening anyway, and we need to prepare ourselves. So I just wanted to, honor that word, because it really is kind of self-preparation. It's working with and getting ready for what's coming up and out in your own experience, and kind of then coincidentally, as a consequence of this work, you will then be able to guide others through.
Yeah, it reminds me, I have a dear teacher and friend who does somatic experiencing work. He's a psychotherapist. And you work with IFS, which is the internal family system, which is how dynamics of systems, works, is trauma. And he spent 20 years of his life in psychiatric hospitals, like very intense wards. And I was asking him, about what was the best tool he learned, or what was the best thing I could learn from him to really hold the space when things get really crazy and really intense. What was the training I should do? That's what I wanted to hear. They tell me, go to that school and learn from that guy. And his answer was, well, the healer in the room is the person with the most regulated nervous system, or the most self-regulated nervous system, the person that is capable in that moment to stand their ground, but to stay open, not to shut down, to really feel into what's going on, but to have healed enough trauma so that body doesn't go into fight or flight modes, doesn't go into protection. And says that's what's allowed the healing in the space. And because of the world we live in, and I'm guessing it's not going to get better tomorrow, our system is constantly influenced by that dysregulation of the world. The world is highly dysregulated and the bodies are dysregulated, which means our bodies naturally pick up on that, sense of danger that might be not right now in the present, but as in the collective. And then we go into the state, which are very hard to perceive unless we do a lot of inner work for that. And therefore, when we hold space, we cannot really offer what is needed, the depth of what is needed that maybe is not present in that family, in that community, in that space. And like Hannah was saying, that is probably easier to access if I'm in a nice retreat in Bali or in Ibiza, but that might be much harder to access on my doorstep or even in my home or in my community. And I want that this training is practical enough so you feel that you can go to those spaces, that you feel confident that when you are there, you're not coming with a toolbox, but you're coming with a very soft heart, and that you're not triggered to a place where you feel you have to fix, you are the savior there, but somehow you offer something that is much more feminine to it, and that allow people to unravel in that space that you have cultivated within. And that's why I think the shamanic tools are very, powerful for that, because they allow us to see that space, to connect to it with different language, stories, a whole different way to look at the world that allows us to step up, not just as technicians, which we could be from one aspect of the world maybe, but really with much more than that. So we can hold that deeper space.
Yeah, I think there's one of the things that I've been working with over the last couple of years or so, and it's developing my own sacred systems, developing my own forms of learning and holding that actually facilitate what learning means to me. And so what I've learned over this period of time is that you need form for there to be flow. And sometimes when we're talking about this kind of work, it feels very loose, or it feels very kind of unstructured, I guess, or it seems unstructured. And the way that the course is designed is the form is actually quite solid, right? There's very key parts of this training that you need to know, that you will know. But we will need to resist the ways that you have been taught, so that it's like, okay, now I need to do this. Tell me about this, then this, then this, then this, right? So we need to resist those ways that we've been taught to learn in order to glean that knowledge. But just know that the foundations of breathwork, of the anatomy and physiology, of ethics, consent, and boundaries, of the practitioner tools that you'll have, of the legal frameworks that you will need, the ways to deal with trauma in a collective sense, where you learn about the anatomy of trauma and the trauma response. Embodied social justice, this will be a thread throughout, and how we can actually live that line of love and justice, and it is within our own healing as well. Justice first starts in our own bodies, and so this is also something that is really important to honor. And then also a key part of this is sustainability. How do we actually collectively become part of a nourishing network? So business sustainability, sacred systems, and sacred strategies is also a big part of this. So yeah, I just wanted to bring in the form so that you can honor the flow. Should we open up for some questions, or if there's any sharings or experiences, or what's going on your side?
Yeah, I'd love to hear if someone has reactions to that, or feel invited into some discussions, or any questions you might have.
I'd like to share. My name is Pam. I'm sorry I missed the breath work this morning. I cleaned the bathrooms at work, so I had to do that this morning in order to make this question and answer thing. But for the last few days, I've been really thinking, and I've had some sort of anxiety of wanting to do this work and almost shedding some more skin. You know, I've healed from some trauma, and I'm excited to do this work. I feel deeply rooted with this, like it is some sort of calling that I've had for a very long time. I feel very connected to it. And I'm scared today. I don't know why. I think maybe but it's under control. Like I've been able to stay grounded and understand why I'm afraid of letting go of everyday stuff, which I want to do, and still be able to work within a community. I know this work is very sacred, and I know a lot of people don't understand it, and maybe that's why I'm afraid for me to convey the healing work in this process. I don't know. That's all I have to share for now. So thanks for letting me.
My teacher often say that some fears, not all of them, but some fears are places that bring us into humbleness and respect. Sometimes we're going to do a big healing, or we're entering a medicine space and we have a little bit of it, but he said that it's the part of us that are like, wow, something big is happening here. And so, I'm feeling that. I mean, also there's also the fear, those things we've lived and the trauma we've experienced. There's different type of fears. I think we use that word sometimes in a way too broad sense. If you're afraid when you cross the road because there's car traffic, I think it's quite healthy. But some others, are much more, intergenerational or culture type of fears, or they're ingrained into our systems, and they're very different because they can show up that way. And I would just want to share, as what you were sharing, it reminded me that when I started my sexual trauma training, which was a long multi-year training, a part of me was very excited and a part of me was very afraid. And I could not pinpoint what it was. I didn't know about my sexual trauma yet. And looking back, I think it's that part of me already knew that something big was going to be met there. And I think the part of me that was excited was the part, yes, it's good, you're going to be okay there, you should do it. It's the right space for it. But there was definitely that tensions looking back, that was necessary for me to go do that work, but also to stay very connected and present with whatever was moving in my body at the same time, which allowed me to go deep enough to remember something 30 years later that I had forgotten. And also I could see how my fear was, it was this protection that was trying to protect me. And because it didn't know yet, was it really safe? Is it the time? Is it the place? Is it the right people, the right container? And I've done a lot of training before that. I went to a lot of ceremonial space, and somehow it never came. And I think, I was preparing myself, and also maybe those containers were not safe enough for me for that part to feel like I can come here. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be held. Because, when it came out, it was pretty messy. But I just felt love there. Felt very, very supported, very held. And just for the anecdote or stories, the woman that was walking on me at the moment also had that experience in her life, which I didn't know when she was walking on me, which reminded me of those bodies communicating. My body saw, oh wow, and her trauma was, even, I mean, we can't really compare trauma, I don't like to do that, but she went through hell, and I didn't know any of that, but she had gone through all that, and through the healing she was completely able to hold that without any judgment or freaking out, or calling for help. She could hold that space, and it was a complete non-verbal experience. She was not talking to me, but my body just allowed itself, because our bodies allowed me to do that. And there was no fear in that moment, despite I went to, what could be scary, would have been very scary, into another space, and probably traumatizing enough again for me. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, honoring the part in me that's afraid is very important. Very important. It does so much worth, and it's so sacred. It touched the most sacred part of us, in fact, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think there's a huge part of me that wants to validate that fear, right? Because it is scary. Like, that's a perfectly appropriate response to this work, right? And so honoring that, I think one of the things that we have been taught is that if we're afraid, we shouldn't do it, or that fear is telling us that we can't do it, or something along these lines, right? Whereas what I found is that fear is information, right? It is a little bit of information, and you can, when you knock on the door of fear, or you're scared and you're knocking on that door, you start to notice, what is behind that? And then maybe behind that is, it's because you know something's going to happen, or because you care about something so much. And then when you knock on that care, and it's like, what is it that I care about? Right? And so you kind of go through these processes, and I really invite you to do so, because it will inform you of what your path is and what your medicine is. If in this moment you're like, it's because people don't know what it is, you might be that bridge, right? To translate this work into your community, right? And that might be actually that path for you. We don't know, right? But it might be. And yeah, I think there's also another question and inquiry that comes up for me is, what is the feeling if you don't do it?
Regret. And there's been so much of that in my life that I know that feeling so well. And I'm willing to have the courage now to move forth without any regret. Like, if I just have right now, really. So if I can stay in that mindset, it can only heal. It can't really hurt.
Thank you.
I would like to also share something. Thank you so much, Hannah and Angel, for your passion. My healing was always been self-healed, because my circumstances was always go to the psychotherapy and take the pills, they help you with the medicine, and something inside of me, I couldn't accept it. And I came to the point that not only I was healing myself, I was healing my abusers as well. And through healing my abusers, I was healed too. So I feel that it's my duty to learn this and come out and help heal others, because at my workplace and people that I'm dealing with, there's so many unhealed souls. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Taking a few breaths with that and with you, what you have survived.
Just to add something else, that I mean, that the way I found you is the first time I meet you, and I came across sanctuary through after a deep meditation, and I was very, very desperate because my feminine side has been abused and has been hurt for many years, and I came out of psilocybin, and then I was looking for some sort of help because I thought, okay, it's a stage that I need some help, and I came across you. So this is how, and I was sure when I entered the Zoom meeting, I was sure this is the correct guidance, and I really want to continue this work with you, and I feel it, and my soul is happy, and I feel it with my bones that I'm in the right place. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your work and your healing work that you're doing. Hopefully I could be part of this as well with you, working with you.
So nice to be with you all today. I have always had such a curious mind. Had to learn to live with that. It's the double-edged sword. But I think it's part of my destiny to learn to live with that and to engage it on occasion, to evaluate and get a sense of things. And that's why I'm here today. I'm so curious as to how to, bring this breathwork practice, in particular the shamanic breathwork practice, into my life, and to share that in some way as a teaching, maybe verbally in a class situation, or simply just when I'm taking a shower and I'm giving some sort of lecture to I don't know who, which I've done pretty much all my life, speaking to unseen forces as if they were in the room with me. And I feel that's really an important part of who I am and my work. And today in the breathwork session, it was very interesting to somehow have this projection into the future, the next 20 years, which in the next 20 years, I'll be in my 90s. And it was so interesting to see myself in that space in the future. And I was so happy. I was sitting in my living room right here with all the collected and there was a word that Angel used earlier, reparenting. I wrote that down. The reparenting of the fragmented parts of myself that I have brought here and that are very happy to be here and that I play with. And at 92, seeing myself on my floor, just again, speaking to maybe people that are not here and unforeseen ancestors, you name it. They're all in the classroom. So, but even more personally, where this work has taken me, that I've been doing now for about a year, doing different forms of breath work and being called more to the shamanic aspects of it, has just been so surprising and an adventure. And I like that. I like to be surprised and maintain that curiosity. So I think I really would like to look at your, and I'll request that, like to look at the structure that you're putting forth in the class and what that looks like. And I haven't done that yet because I'm operating on a different level here, feeling, sensing, receiving. So that's where I am today. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Lydia, for being here and responding to that call and curiosity. I'm just really enjoying that image of you 20 years in time in your living room. And such a beautifully powerful image. And yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. It already makes me want to know each other much deeper. And yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now. It's like, oh, it's gonna be wonderful to journey and to really get to, to learn so much from each other beyond just the structure of the container and the foundation of that container. Because I know it's there in that rekindling and rewiring these new mycelium connection networks that we build the resilience, because there's a big part of the resilience that is within, obviously, that is necessary, but there's a huge part of it that is also collective. We've learned to be strong and survive on our own, and we have to be that. And it's true that the healing journey can be very lonely sometimes, but I really believe we heal, alone and together, that we need, so we need both of it. So, and I think we all long for that collective safe space anyway. I mean, we long for it within our bodies, but I think we long for it even more on a collective space because we've lost that a long time ago. And we don't sometimes even know what it really means or what it feels like. I think we are, on the hour. Want to be respectful of time too.
Sorry, can I just ask one question regarding the one on there was like 5 days of personal days of breath work. How does it work if you're not in the same continents actually? Will the classes be all online or yeah, if you could just expand on that. Thank you so much.
You want me to share about it? You're just looking at the computer. So yeah, so the monthly class is going to be on the Sunday morning US time, 10 a.m. Which is, I think, 3 p.m. London, 6 p.m., 4 p.m. Paris. Those classes are live and recorded. Those are the monthly kind of pillars where all the big modules are going to be unfolding. And then the weekly breath. So Hannah and I offer weekly breath, at different times of the day. some are more US friendly, some are more, I guess, Europe friendly. But we also will have a kind of a list of other people that we admire and respect in the space where you can also breathe there. So let's say one day you cannot do the Saturday breath or the Sunday breath, and then you'll be able to do another breath with someone that's based in London, for example, if you're in Spain, you know, or so you'll have possibilities to make sure that you have your weekly breath work, you know, and then we'll have groups together, you know, at all the time. But we try to design it in a way that obviously there is multiple continent involved here, but also, you know, some of us might be very busy, you know, some people might be single moms, and, you know, it's hard to just find a time, maybe every week or every month at the same time. So to make sure that is flexible enough that, yeah, people are able to attend and do their, you know, do their breath, do their work, do their learnings and teachings.
Yeah. So primarily the course content is online, and you were speaking about actually coming and meeting in person. And so at the end of the course, we will have a 5-day retreat at the end of the training so that we can actually come together in person. And this is also a huge learning experience as well. I think in respect of our current context, we need to be okay with not knowing what that will look like right now. So that will come, but we know that we need to meet in person and feel each other and hold each other, because a lot is going to unfold together. So yes, so that's that.
Yeah, we don't know yet where those 5 days, but it will be somewhere. And who knows what the world will look like in August next year, yeah, also.
Yeah. So I don't know whether you've gone through the processes of looking at the payment plans. One of the things that has been really important and central to what we do and what we're trying to do with this course is really to resist the ways that we perpetuate cycles. So we've created a different payment plan, or different payment plans that feel intuitively right for you. And so there are 3 different categories for this. There's a rebalancing access. So these are for those who have more than enough financial resources and a desire to support access for others to rebalance the systems of inequity that we live in. There's fair access. So for those with sufficient financial resources and who can pay full value. And this fair access is around $390 a month. And then there's supported access. So these are the price for those who are currently limited financial resources, either because of your familial situation or because of our complex social strategies of oppression. And so it's really honoring those ways that we access money. Often we are in the spaces of kind of false ideas of equality. And so this was something that we really wanted to facilitate. One of the things that is also, though, really important is Angel and I will never turn you down for lack of resources. And this is important medicine. So even if the finances are a barrier, or there's some kind of questions that are happening, or there's a resistance to it, I really invite you to reach out. We can kind of have that conversation together. It's really not about yes, no, or binary thinking around this. It's really about how, right? How can we do this? So with that being said, though, as we allow Angel to find his feet again, is that through that structure, that would be the core structure for you as well. Okay. You okay, Angel?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi is just having fun.
Okay.
Yeah, back.
Yeah, so I was just actually, Pam asked a question about the resources and whether we can have access to a workbook or kind of materials. And I was just sharing about the platform, online platform that we're going to use, that you will have access forever as well, to. So there's no expiration
Yeah,
to that.
yeah. As long as the internet still exists.
Yeah, got to get our printers out, I think.
Yeah, you might want to print some stuff just in case.
I have another question,
Yes.
if you don't mind. I've seen on the website that you offer other courses as well. I mean, the first one, which is upcoming for me, was the breathwork that we're speaking here about. But how about, what is the comparison with the other? Because there was a full shamanic certification course as well. So if you can explain a little bit, so I would be able to choose.
Yeah, so it's very different because this is the only breathwork training, and that are also those different components that we mentioned about. The shamanic training is just about the shamanic tools and the shamanic work. So we talk a little bit about breathwork. There's some breathwork in it, but it's a very different dive because yeah, this also training that we're talking about today here is also catered towards you becoming a practitioner, potentially full-time, like making it this a way of life. In the shamanic training, some people just want it sometimes just for personal transformation, just to do that, which could be the case here too, by the way. You might not want to be a practitioner, you want to use that part of your other tools. So here, the part on the breath is much deeper, and there's, way more breath work and what happened in that space, what is released, how do we hold space for that. There's a lot around that, which is slightly different than a pure shamanic training, obviously, that is just about the shamanic tools. Yeah, I would say.
One of the things that I've noticed in doing different breath work with different groups, Angel, is that in your group, you ask us to please leave the camera on us so that you can see us. And I've also participated in other breathwork sessions, but that's not a requirement. You can or can't, but so initially when I first started, I always had the camera off because I didn't know what was going to happen. And then when I started doing breathwork with you, I had a little bit under my belt, though, you know, so that, but I had to say that, you know, I had to overcome that self-consciousness, and as well as, you know, settle into someone holding the space for me and being able to see me, see me physically, and that. And once I guess acclimated would be the word to that, to, you know, this is how it is. I really can see some wisdom in that. So I don't know, I just wanted to bring that up for some reason, because it seems like part of a process that I don't know if that's part of your training, or if you touch on that in any way, the differences and what you've discovered, because I think, Hannah, you've done it probably both ways too. So maybe if you want to speak to that a minute.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, you know, breathwork, it was only in person. I was never doing them online. It was before COVID and, you know, years ago. And I think once we bring it online, obviously we create a distance, you know, we don't get to meet each other in the same way and have a time to say, hey, hello, how are you? You know, put you in a room somewhere and just have this first physical just encounter that usually help create some kind of connection, some kind of safety, also some kind of feeling into, you know, what is there, what might be moving. There's always people not turning on their camera, by the way, so it's not mandatory. It's just, you know, it just happened that way. But my personal experience is that we can go deeper when there is someone witnessing, either physically present, or then we just do it alone at home with a recording. Some people do that, you know, and there's nobody else to hold space. For me, you know, when it's the case like that, I don't go as deep if there's someone holding space for me that is present. But also I go much deeper if that person that hold the space, I have a connection, I trust them, and I feel safe enough that I know I can go fully in. I don't need to worry about what might happen. But there's also a last layer, I think, which can be, you know, so that's why I always put my own view on spotlight so people don't see the others. Because I also don't want people feeling shy because they feel everybody's looking at them, which is really not the case. Most people are breathing and not looking at the screen. But, you know, we can be self-conscious about releasing sound, for example, or having certain movements, you know, and depending of what our safety experience has been, trauma experience has been, even having someone witnessing you might not feel safe. You know, I'm a male, you're a female, you know, and you might have an experience, well, you know, I don't like when a man look at me when I'm laying on the floor and I have my eyes closed. I'm very aware of that. You know, so I guess it's kind of the Zoom limitation anyway, you know, it's like we're doing it that way. But yeah, I try to mention to people, sometimes people email me and say, I'd love to come, but I don't want the video. And I say, come, you know, come without the video. Because I recognize that sometimes, you know, safety takes time, it's slow. And like you said, you got used to it. And at some point, instead of just showing me your feet or your knees, you kind of move the camera so I could see your chest and your pelvis and your face, you know, so you felt, okay, this is okay, you know. And I think it's really important to respect that, you know, because we're all very different. And you might have one session one day where you come and say, you know what, I can't have the camera on today. I just want to be alone. I don't want to be looked at. And so I think it's really important to not feel any pressure there and to learn to honor that our bodies one day might feel very different, and to really saying, okay, I see you, I hear you, and I'm going to respect that, you know, and this is what I need today. Today I need that. because your wisdom, whatever you think you need at the moment, is higher than my wisdom, whatever I can tell you. If you feel you can't be seen or you don't want the video, for sure it's what you need.
Yeah.
In that
Well, I
moment.
appreciate you. I appreciate that, you know, the opportunity to feel the difference between the two and grow into it.
Mhm.
I actually was wondering how it would be to be in person with a group of people in a room and hearing everyone breathing and how that would be. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
really like this way. I really like it. Acclimated to it. Yeah. Adapt. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that. It's important.
Yeah. And I just want to also honor that a trauma-informed Zoom etiquette is something that is not taught right now, right? It is not actually something that people really know how to do or how to kind of transfer their trauma-informed practice online. And in this kind of new space, if, for example, you don't really want to do in-person breathwork sessions, but you want to do online ones, that's a totally different skill, right? Because these are two completely different practices. And so being kind of somatically informed us into what is going on in your body whilst being online, it's a different experience. And that's something that we also have within our training, because we know we're going to be online. And so a trauma-informed, thematic, embodied Zoom etiquette is such a strange sentence when you say it in one sentence, but it's necessary, right? Because now we're directly projecting ourselves into people's homes, into their intimate spaces, and we need to talk about that quite in depth, and this will be part of the training. Yeah. Thank you for that and bringing that in.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of things, layers that we will bring, you know, the in-person and the touch and the presence, the way we look, the way we move next to a body, even without touch, can feel threatening when someone is in breathwork. So there's a lot there that will be, you know, walked through and experienced during our training, because it's very important when we deal with bodies that are very open and activated. And one touch or one movement can mean the difference between re-traumatizing and the depth of a healing, like two opposite sides of the spectrum of the healing. It could be sometimes very tiny difference in the way the things were done, but that's part of the things we need to know how that works. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was great sharing with you. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can, you know, email us. Yeah, we start September 12th, which is like in 3 weeks from now. Very much looking forward to it. Yeah, Hannah posted the brochure if you need to see it again, or yeah, or email us. And thank you, Hannah. I'm really excited about it, and yeah, I feel really good about. I think there's going to be some very deep discussions and work, and I'm really looking forward to it, to hold this space with you too.
Yeah. No, I feel really these sessions are quite blissful for me, because these are reminders of why we do it, right? And reminders of how important this work is. And it is this kind of, it's scary, it is quite terrifying actually, but it is important. And I really honor all the courage that it takes to step towards that raw, to step towards that heat. You've made it this far, right? You've all done really hard things, and you can do hard things. And I just want to thank you all for being here I really hope to see you on this journey. Yeah, I'm really excited for it as well. Thank you, Angel. Sending you all so much love.
Thank you, everyone. Blessings.